Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 77 until I become a YouTube millionaire. Woo! Just showing you how serious I take myself. On my mind today, I had an individual that I used to know many years ago who was also a video essayist on YouTube. The time I met him, he was in his 60s, and he has since passed away. But his YouTube channel still has all of his old videos on it. There's a little bit of a tribute on there. It's the splash video, if you will. Basically saying, yeah, he passed away a little while back. He had a series of strokes. But he was, and this is actually verified by his ASVAB course and all that stuff, definitely a verifiable genius. Very, very smart. His life was a rather tragic one, though. He never really did well monetarily. Always seemed to be struggling, and didn't have too many connections familially. Romantically, it was the same way. He actually ended up getting scammed, is what I gathered from it, from what I saw. And this might have actually contributed to his strokes. No doubt it did. By a con artist, a female con artist who was basically just trying to get money out of him, the little money he did have. And he didn't have much. So it was really sad. That time capsule that is him will always be there. So while he's no longer around, and his life was tragic, and it was difficult, and he was a good dude. He was a really good dude. Felt very bad for him. Wish it could have been better. While his life was really tragic, he will not be forgotten. This is the first time in human history that this has been the case. In millennia past, you would be born, if you're lucky, get married, have a few kids, die, and in a few generations your name would be totally forgotten, unless you actually had your family history documented in some legitimate genealogy form. But otherwise, you'd be forgotten. 46% of all men throughout history didn't have any children. The number's about 54%. It stayed relatively constant from generation to generation. It's, I think, roughly the same with women, but I'm speaking specifically of men. He is one of those people in this generation, first time in human history, that even though he might have lived a very small life, despite his capacities, he's not going to be forgotten, especially since a person like myself has been affected by him and the ripple effect of time and space. And I'm talking about him now with other people. The 6 degrees of separation, they call it in a sarcastic form, something that Hollywood calls the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. That is 6 degrees of separation from you and Kevin Bacon. You can find your way back to Kevin Bacon within those 6 degrees of separation. You can do the same thing with one human being to any other human being on the face of the planet. In some way, you can find your way back to a specific individual. So we're all connected. In this same vein, doing the basic probabilistic math, you can discern that 7 children, if you have 7 children or 7 descendants, not just children, so let's say you have 3 children and then your children end up having 4 children altogether or something like that. So 7 total descendants. Then your chances of your line, your lineage, your genetic lineage, lasting forever, or at least the age of the universe, are almost 100%. Unless there's a concerted effort to destroy your line, you'll always be around. And that was just genetics. In terms of knowing who you actually were, it reminds me of the movie Interstellar. So there's a scene in that movie where Anne Hathaway's character is listening to Michael Caine, her father in that movie, all the transmissions that she had sent to her over the course of the 22 years that she and Matthew McConaughey had been stuck on that time-warped planet. So she had 22 years of backlogged videos that she had never watched, backlogged transmissions that she had never heard from her father. So she went back and listened to all of them. And by that time, temporarily speaking, her father had aged 22 years but was still around. And it was the same thing with Matthew McConaughey's daughter, who was in her 30s at this point. Those interstellar transmissions, and they even state as much in the movie, are legitimate prayers. It reaches out across time and space because you are willing the good of another. The individual putting out the prayer, the transmission, is doing it to reach out across that time and space to their family to give them some extra resolve, some inspiration, strength to endure the trials and travails that they no doubt are facing. Just like every single one of you. Comparing traumas is like comparing apples to oranges, which means you really can't do it. So if you can give somebody just a little bit of inspiration, then you are willing the good of another, and you are providing love across time and space. The only thing that can really travel through time and space. It helps you react better to the adversities that you face, that are going to happen one way or another. And I've found that I've read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. I read it a while back. But I found that my perspectives in this way were already set to think in a temporally disparate manner before I even read that book. But it was interesting that somebody who lived 2,000 plus years ago had such similar perspectives. We change a lot, and at the same time, we don't change that much over the course of thousands of years. And what I do here, just like Ron Van Dyke did, is I give hope to others. I try to. At the same time, I can't take myself too seriously, but I've already let you guys know that. Telling you the details of my own trials in life and how I am, even though important to a few people, generally not that important. Relatively unknown. C'est la vie. Que sera, sera. Or as the Doctor says in Doctor Who, allons-y, which means, come on then. And then what goes through my mind when I say this, give hope to others, is Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. He gives hope to others and keeps none for himself. Because while my last two videos, I was trying to be a little bit selfish, trying to take something for myself, the likelihood is those two people I am never going to meet in real life. I would love to. But the likelihood is it's never going to happen. And that's okay. So, what I am providing them, my prayer, is that it will inspire them, make them stronger, help them to believe in themselves just a little bit more. So that when those good opportunities do come their way, when they find those right, significant others, they'll take advantage of the opportunity that God has given them. So I reach across time and space in these videos, just like Ron Van Dyke did, to try to help them out, because I do love them, just like I love all of you. Always will, period, end of story. Life's funny. Some of us, it's just not in our, it's not in the cards for us to take anything for ourselves. It's all right. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to try. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Always keep in mind that the stuff you are doing now has much farther reaching potential than you really understand. Ron Van Dyke still exists, and he always will. Love y'all. Peace.